Zola was consumed by the idea of gaining weight, utterly convinced it was the only way she would ever find acceptance. This belief became an obsession, driving her to actions far exceeding her body's natural needs. At every meal, she would deliberately consume immense portions, piling her plate high with yam fufu and rich, heavy palm oil stew. The act itself was a struggle. She would sit before a mountain of food, the heat rising from her body, beads of perspiration forming on her brow, and with determined effort, force spoonful after spoonful into her mouth. Her aim was singular and resolute, to fundamentally reshape her body, molding it into the form that the villagers would finally embrace and approve of. Yet, frustratingly, no matter how much she ate, no matter how hard she pushed herself, the desired weight seemed perpetually out of reach. Ngala was a village unlike any other she knew or had heard tell of. It was a tranquil, insular settlement nestled amidst fertile lands, a place where the natural standard of beauty and health was tied directly to physical robustness. Here, virtually all the women were ample and strong, moving with a quiet confidence that came from knowing they fit perfectly within their community's ideal. Every woman in this peaceful haven carried her weight not just as a physical attribute, but as a symbol of dignity and belonging, navigating her life with the inherent certainty that her appearance was pleasing not only to her ancestors, whose spirits watched over them, but also to any prospective in-laws seeking a capable and fruitful partner for their son. This deeply held belief, woven into the fabric of daily life, had been inherited through countless generations, passed down from mother to daughter, accepted without question. That is, until a truly unique child was born to Anya and Kofi. Anya and Kofi were figures of deep respect and affection within the community. They were known far and wide not only for their hardworking nature, but also for their boundless benevolence and quiet generosity, always ready to lend a hand or share what they had. When Anya conceived, the news spread quickly, and the entire village shared in the palpable excitement and anticipation of welcoming a new life. Her pregnancy progressed smoothly, a picture of health and vitality, and in the fullness of time, Anya delivered a healthy baby girl. They named her Zola. However, the moment the midwife presented the newborn infant for all the assembled women to behold, a profound and unexpected silence descended upon the room, heavy with unspoken observation. Zola was immediately distinct from the other newborns they were accustomed to seeing. She was remarkably petite, her tiny limbs appearing slender, her cheeks notably lacking the customary fullness that the experienced village midwives habitually cherished as a sign of good fortune and robust health. A ripple of murmurs spread through the gathering, like wind rustling through dry leaves, and some of the elder women, their faces etched with years of wisdom and tradition, exchanged troubled, searching looks. "Is she unwell?" someone whispered, the question tinged with concern and perhaps a touch of suspicion. But the midwife, a woman of calm authority, promptly moved to dispel their fears, her voice clear and reassuring. "She is healthy," she affirmed, her gaze steady. "Simply different. The spirits, after all, have their own mysterious intentions." Anya and Kofi cherished their daughter with an intensity that transcended any village expectations. They nurtured her with immense affection, providing her with a warm and loving home. Yet, as Zola matured beyond infancy and into childhood, it became increasingly apparent, painfully so, that she diverged significantly from her peers. While other girls her age began acquiring the rounded features and more substantial forms that were so admired in Gala, Zola remained stubbornly slender, her figure appearing almost ethereal, light and delicate against the earthiness of the village. A distinct internal radiance shone from her eyes, a luminous quality that hinted at a spirit perhaps not entirely grounded in the physical world of Ngala, suggesting she belonged to a different realm of being. From her earliest steps, Zola became the unavoidable subject of hushed remarks and open village talk. Other children, quick to notice and often cruel in their observations, would indicate her with pointing fingers, snickering behind cupped hands and labeling her with hurtful nicknames, a twig, or simply the slender one. She desperately attempted to join in their games and activities, longing for the simple camaraderie of childhood, but frequently faced exclusion, explicitly or implicitly shut out from their circle. When she tried to partake in the vibrant, earth-shaking dances during their communal ceremonies, the other girls would openly deride her, their voices sharp with scorn. "Your legs are too delicate for dancing," they would proclaim, pushing her gently aside. "Go find the boys to play with. Maybe they won't break you." Zola's young spirit was burdened by a profound and pervasive solitude. She would often withdraw from the center of village life, seeking refuge in the tranquil plains bordering the settlement, areas of quiet grassland where she could weep undisturbed, the vast sky her only witness. Her parents, keenly perceiving her sorrow, endeavored with all their hearts to console her. "You are extraordinary, Zola," her mother would declare, her voice filled with conviction. "The spirits have bestowed upon you a unique loveliness, a grace that is all your own. One day, child, you will truly grasp why you are as you are, and you will see its beauty." Yet, despite the sincerity of these assurances, they offered little lasting relief to Zola's deep distress. She felt profoundly estranged, an alien presence within her own community, a constant reminder of her difference. One afternoon, following yet another particularly painful round of jibes and exclusions from the other girls, she fled the village, running with all her might until she reached the quiet solitude of the riverbank. There, she sank down, letting the tears flow freely, weeping until her eyes were sore and swollen, and her body ached with the effort. As she sat there, lost in her despair, an elderly woman approached her slowly, her footsteps soft on the earth. It was Elder Aminata, the village's wise healer, a woman renowned for her deep insight into the ways of the world and her often cryptic, yet profound, pronouncements. "Why the tears, little one?" Elder Aminata inquired softly, her voice a comforting balm in Zola's turmoil. "I am unlike the others," Zola responded, her voice trembling with the remnants of her sobs. "I lack their beauty. I am too slight, too peculiar. I don't belong." Elder Aminata smiled gently, a smile that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages, and settled herself comfortably beside the young girl. "Hear me, child," she began, her tone kind but firm. "The spirits commit no errors in their creation. Each leaf that unfurls on a tree, every sturdy trunk, and every individual born into this world possesses a unique purpose, a reason for being exactly as they are. Your distinctiveness, the very quality that makes you feel strange and isolated, is not a flaw, but your inherent power. Someday, Zola, the world will look upon you and recognize what truly renders you extraordinary." Zola listened, finding a measure of comfort in the elder's calm and knowing words, yet doubt, a persistent weed, still lingered in her heart. The incessant ridicule she faced daily had taken root, steadily eroding her self-belief. Thus, as she grew into young adolescence, Zola became utterly consumed by the singular notion of increasing her physical mass, convinced, more than ever, that it offered the sole viable route to acceptance and belonging within her community. She commenced a deliberate campaign of consuming far more than her physiology required for sustenance, obliging herself to devour substantial quantities of yam fufu and thick, heavy palm oil stew at every single sitting, forcing food upon her unwilling body. She would position herself before a considerable mound of sustenance, the air around her growing warm from the effort, perspiration glistening on her skin, as she methodically forced spoonful after spoonful into her mouth. She was utterly resolved to alter her physique, determined to mold it to satisfy the communal gaze and the unspoken, yet powerful, expectations of the villagers. Yet, despite her extensive and often painful consumption, the desired weight gain seemed perpetually elusive. Her frame remained stubbornly lithe, her bones fine, her muscles lean, resistant to adopting the prescribed ample form that everyone around her anticipated. In her deepening despair, seeking any possible solution, she sought help from the other young women. These were the very girls who had mocked her earlier, but now, perhaps witnessing the depth of her struggle, they displayed a measure of hesitant compassion. They spoke to her in hushed tones, sharing whispered secrets of traditional herbal preparations, clandestine mixtures inherited from their mothers and grandmothers, purportedly capable of promoting rapid and significant weight gain. Desperate and clinging to any semblance of hope, Zola, in her vulnerability and trust, agreed to sample these varied infusions. Daily, she would ingest a different brew, forcing down the often acrid, unfamiliar taste, her only solace the persistent hope that this one, finally, would yield the desired results. One of the girls, Didi, who had been particularly cruel in the past, offered her a mixture that she claimed was particularly potent, attesting that it had aided her own relative in gaining noticeable weight within a mere month. "Consume it thrice daily," Didi advised, her voice low and conspiratorial. "You'll notice a change shortly, I promise. Just persevere through the taste," she added, a look of something akin to pity mixed with curiosity on her face. Zola, desperate for any affirmation, followed the instructions diligently, drinking the preparation faithfully, resolutely disregarding the waves of nausea that often ensued immediately afterward. She frequently felt her abdomen contract and seize painfully, sharp cramps shooting through her, but in her misguided conviction, she convinced herself this was merely a necessary reaction, tangible confirmation that the potion was indeed effective, working its magic within her. Tragically, she grew visibly frilier with each passing day that passed, her complexion paling to an alarming degree, yet she pressed onward, driven by her singular goal. The yearning for external validation, the deep-seated desire to be perceived as attractive and belonging in the eyes of her community, compelled her to withstand the increasing physical discomfort and the obvious signs that her body was suffering. One morning, Zola awoke feeling profoundly faint, her head swimming with dizziness, her entire body saturated with perspiration, barely able to summon the strength to stand. Despite her weakened state, resolute on pressing onward with her desperate regimen, she compelled herself to consume another measure of the preparation that Ndidi had given her. But the instant the liquid touched her lips and went down her throat, an acute, searing ache pierced her abdomen, far worse than anything she had felt before. A gasp escaped her lips, and she sank to the ground, clutching her stomach with both hands, her breathing becoming shallow and ragged with pain. Her parents, Kofi and Anya, hearing her distressed cries from the other room, hastened into her dwelling, their faces etched with sudden fear. They discovered her writhing on the floor in agony, her face alarmingly pallid, her lips tinged with a faint, unnatural blue. Anya shrieked for assistance, her voice raw with terror, and within moments, neighbors had convened outside their humble dwelling, drawn by the sound of distress. Elder Aminata, the community healer whose wisdom was sought in times of crisis, pressed through the assembly of concerned villagers and knelt immediately beside Zola, her experienced eyes quickly assessing the severity of the situation. "What did she take?" Elder Aminata demanded urgently, her voice cutting through the murmuring crowd, her gaze sharp and direct. Ndidi, who had arrived among the curious neighbors perhaps hoping to see if Zola had finally shown any signs of weight gain, stepped forward hesitantly, her eyes fixed on the ground. She was drinking a mixture to help her gain weight," she murmured, her voice barely audible, avoiding the piercing gaze of the elder. Elder Aminata's expression grew severe, her brow furrowing deeply with disapproval and concern. "Absurd girl," she snapped, her voice stern, directed at Ndidi but meant for all to hear. "Are you not aware these preparations are perilous? Each being is distinct. What benefited another, perhaps through sheer coincidence or a different constitution, could be fatal for someone else." With practiced movements born of years of experience, Elder Aminata began applying a treatment, a concoction of herbs and poultices designed to counteract the poisonous compound Zola had ingested. Zola lay there, barely aware of the activity surrounding her, her thoughts drifting in and out of consciousness, caught between the world of the living and something else. She perceived the commotion surrounding her, the worried faces, the hushed tones of sympathy from some and quiet censure from others. For 3 long, agonizing days and nights, Zola remained confined to her bed, weak and feverish, her body fighting the effects of the potion. Her parents remained constantly by her side, their hearts heavy with fear, uncertain if she would recover, praying for her survival. On the fourth day, a whisper of hope finally arrived. She finally opened her eyes, her body sore and drained, but blessedly, undeniably living. She gazed up at Elder Aminata, who had remained tirelessly to oversee her recuperation, her presence a silent promise of care. "You are fortunate, child," the elder stated gravely, her voice a low rumble. "The spirits have preserved you, pulling you back from the brink, but only narrowly. Never again must you attempt to alter what the spirits have granted you. Your form is a bestowal, a gift unique to you, whether you perceive it thus or not," she concluded, her words carrying the weight of irrefutable truth. As Zola slowly regained her strength and entered her adolescent years, the village commenced preparations for its most significant and anticipated occasion, the annual coming-of-age festival. This was a time of great importance, a period for young women to proudly display their grace, their skill in movement, and their nascent allure, with aspirations of attracting a suitable suitor or, at the very least, gaining the esteem and recognition of the village community. The festival also served a deeper purpose, providing a vital opportunity to reverence the ancestors whose spirits watched over them and to commemorate the community's rich heritage and enduring traditions. Every girl anticipated the festival with eagerness and excitement, and Zola, notwithstanding her past rejections and the lingering pain of exclusion, harbored a fragile hope that this year, perhaps, things might be different for her. She spent days meticulously crafting a magnificent garment from the most exquisite cloth her loving parents could possibly acquire, a fabric of rich color and fine texture. The dress itself was understated yet refined, designed with careful thought to accentuate her distinct, slender build. When she finally donned it, standing before the small, cracked mirror, even her mother gasped aloud, a sound of pure admiration escaping her lips. "Zola," Anya exclaimed, her eyes widening with surprise and delight. "You resemble a deity, a spirit made visible." But upon Zola's arrival at the festival grounds, the familiar, hurtful derision commenced instantly, as sharp and predictable as the setting sun. "Observe her," someone scoffed loudly, the sound carrying through the crowd. "Who does she imagine she is, parading those delicate limbs?" Zola attempted to smile, to project an air of confidence she didn't feel, to simply partake in the general festivities and joy around her, but each peal of laughter directed her way felt like a physical blow, piercing her fragile hope. As the hypnotic drumming commenced, signaling the start of the communal dances, Zola stepped forward, gathering her courage to join in, but the other girls immediately moved to block her way, forming a solid, unwelcoming barrier. "This space is not for you," declared Fatu, the most favored and confident girl in the community, her voice dripping with condescension. "Your kind of movement doesn't fit our rhythm. Go attend to the elders. Perhaps they will find value in your skeletal frame." The assembly around them erupted in laughter, a cruel, echoing sound that crushed Zola's spirit. Overwhelmed by humiliation, tears welling instantly in her eyes, she wheeled around and fled, running blindly from the center of the village. She ran across the open fields bordering Gala, tears streaming down her face, blurring her vision, feeling more isolated and heartbroken than she ever had in her entire life. She ran until her lungs burned and her legs ached, finally reaching the ancient, neglected shrine nestled at the village's periphery, a place of quiet solitude the villagers rarely visited. There, she sank down onto the cool earth, sobbing uncontrollably, the weight of her difference feeling unbearable. It was there, amidst her despair, that she heard a voice, soft but distinct. "Why do you weep, Zola?" It was Elder Aminata once more, her figure emerging slowly and quietly from the shadows cast by the old trees surrounding the shrine. "I am weary, Elder," Zola sobbed, pouring out the depth of her pain. "I am weary of being singular, weary of not belonging, weary of being judged for who I am." Elder Aminata inclined her head pensively, observing the young woman with compassionate eyes. "The world abounds with wonders, my dear," she said gently. "At times, what appears as a burden, a source of pain and isolation, is, in truth, a hidden grace waiting to be revealed. Place your faith in the spirits, Zola, the spirits who made you just as you are, and have faith in yourself, in the strength you possess within. Your moment, child, your time to shine, will surely arrive." Precisely as Elder Aminata had foreseen, Zola's life was indeed on the very brink of a profound transformation. A few weeks subsequently, after the dust of the coming-of-age festival had settled, a visitor arrived in Ngala. His name was Kwame, a tall, engaging gentleman with a sophisticated air, hailing from the distant metropolis. He was known in his world as a talent scout for a prominent modeling firm, constantly searching for unique faces and figures. He had learned of Ngala's distinctive coming-of-age festival, perhaps through word of mouth or a stray article, and had journeyed all the way to the remote village specifically to witness it firsthand, drawn by the rumors of remarkable beauty. Kwame was instantly captivated by the striking, robust beauty of the village women, their strength and presence undeniable. Yet, amidst the substantial, shapely figures that moved with such grounded grace, something else entirely drew his discerning attention. Standing solitary by the quiet riverbank, looking out at the flowing water, he spotted a slender, elegant girl, her form a stark contrast to the others. She resembled a delicate blossom amidst dense foliage, seemingly fragile, yet possessing an undeniable resilience in her posture. He approached her with care, not wanting to startle her. "Greetings, my name is Kwame," he introduced himself, offering a pleasant, open smile. "I couldn't help but notice you. You possess a rare sort of beauty, something singular and different from what I usually encounter. Have you ever contemplated modeling?" Zola blinked, the word foreign and strange, not fully comprehending its meaning. "Modeling? What is that?" she asked, her voice quiet. Kwame chuckled gently, finding her innocence charming. "It is a profession where individuals like you, with a special, captivating appearance, display clothing, adornments, and merchandise for others to see and desire. I believe, truly believe, you could achieve considerable success in this field," Kwame added, his voice filled with genuine conviction. Zola hesitated, the idea so foreign, so utterly outside the realm of her experiences. She had never encountered such a concept before, and it seemed almost too extraordinary, too fantastical to be real, especially for her. "But I am not attractive," she murmured, casting her eyes downward, her village's judgment still deeply ingrained. Kwame shook his head firmly. "Who claims that? The world is immense, Zola, far vaster than your village, and beauty is not monolithic, confined to a single shape or form. Trust me, Zola, you possess something remarkable, something the world is waiting to see." After conversing further with Kwame, listening intently to his descriptions of the city and the possibilities he presented, Zola returned home, her mind buzzing with unfamiliar ideas and a nascent sense of possibility. She informed her parents about the peculiar man from the city and his astonishing proposition. Initially, Kofi and Anya were apprehensive, their hearts filled with the natural reluctance of parents considering their daughter leaving the protective embrace of their village for the vast, unknown challenges of the city. But they perceived a glimmer of optimism in her eyes, a spark they had never witnessed there before, a quiet fire ignited by hope. "We will support you, Zola, if this is your genuine wish, your heart's true calling," Kofi stated, his voice steady despite his worry. "But be mindful, child, the city diverges greatly from our village life. It can be severe and unforgiving, a place of harsh realities," they cautioned, ensuring she understood the potential difficulties. Zola nodded, acknowledging the hazards but feeling an intense, overriding urge to validate herself, to prove that her difference was not a defect but a strength. She resolved to seize the opportunity Kwame offered and depart Ngala with him. The villagers were astonished by her decision, their reactions a mix of disbelief and skepticism. Some openly expressed disapproval, their whispers laced with doubt. "She will return empty-handed," they scoffed, predicting her failure in the city. But Zola's parents, their faith bolstered by their daughter's quiet resolve and the wisdom of Elder Aminata, presented her with a small, carved protective talisman, a tangible link to her home and heritage. "Recall always, child," they whispered, their voices filled with love and encouragement. "You are extraordinary. Carry that truth within you." The metropolis proved initially overwhelming, just as her parents had cautioned. It was a place of incessant clamor, a dizzying, rapid-paced world filled with colossal structures that scraped the sky, vibrant marketplaces overflowing with goods and people, and inhabitants who appeared driven by an unfamiliar, relentless urgency. Everything was simultaneously novel and exhilarating, yet deeply daunting. She had never encountered such a multitude of automobiles, their horns blaring, so many individuals rushing past in such a frantic haste, or such a magnificent display of artificial illuminations that rendered night almost indistinguishable from day, bathing everything in an unnatural glow. Kwame escorted her to his firm, a sleek, modern office space, where he introduced her to his associate, Zara, a striking woman who had herself been a model in the past. Zara appraised Zola from head to toe, a dubious, critical expression on her perfectly made-up countenance. "Are you quite certain about this one, Kwame?" she inquired, lifting a skeptical eyebrow. "She doesn't resemble the typical young women we engage. She is different." Kwame smiled, his confidence unwavering. "Precisely why I am certain. She possesses a distinct form of beauty, a quiet vibrancy, a unique presence that the industry requires right now, something fresh and authentic. Believe me, Zara, there is something truly extraordinary about her," Kwame urged, his belief in Zola palpable. Zara sighed, a sound of slight exasperation, but consented to offer Zola an opportunity, agreeing to give her a chance to prove herself. They commenced with intensive instruction, teaching her the fundamentals of deportment, how to walk with poise, how to hold herself, the art of posing for the camera, and the crucial skill of presenting herself with confidence before a lens. The initial weeks were challenging, a steep learning curve in an unfamiliar environment. Zola grappled constantly with her self-assurance, often feeling like an outsider, clumsy and awkward among the polished urban professionals. The urban young women around her, with their towering footwear, impeccable coiffures, and air of effortless sophistication, would eye her with thinly veiled disdain and murmur to each other, subtly or not so subtly ridiculing her perceived lack of polish and sophistication compared to their own city-honed glamour. Yet, Kwame remained a steadfast source of support, a constant presence encouraging her through each stage of her development. "You are progressing admirably, Zola," he would assert, his voice filled with genuine encouragement. "Simply be authentic. Be yourself. Do not try to imitate others. Allow your singularity, the very quality that makes you unique, to radiate outwards." Gradually, slowly but surely, she began to discover her cadence, finding her rhythm in this new world. Her performance before the camera grew more assured, her poses more instinctive and graceful, and soon, she started attracting the coveted notice of lensmen and couturiers alike, individuals who recognized the nascent star quality within her. One significant day, during a routine photographic session, a celebrated fashion creator, Madame Keisha, known for her innovative designs and discerning eye, paid a visit to the bureau. She was specifically seeking new visages, fresh faces, and unique looks for her upcoming collection, hoping to find inspiration. As she perambulated through the studio, observing the various models at work, her gaze suddenly alighted upon Zola, who was quietly preparing for her turn before the camera, perhaps practicing a pose or simply waiting her moment. "Who is that?" Madame Keisha inquired, her voice sharp with interest, indicating Zola with a gesture. "Oh, that's our recent recruit from the village," Zara responded dismissively, her tone implying Zola was not yet significant. "She's still learning the fundamentals, quite raw still." Madame Keisha, however, appeared intrigued rather than dismissive. "Let her step forward," she directed, her tone brooks no argument. When Zola approached, Feeling a mix of nervousness and curiosity, Madame Keisha smiled, a genuine expression of appreciation spreading across her face. "There is something distinct about you, child," she remarked, her eyes scanning Zola's features and form. "You possess an unrefined, natural quality, a beauty that hasn't been shaped or diluted by artifice. I desire you to present my new collection." Zola was utterly astonished, barely able to credit her auditory sense. The words seemed to hang in the air, unreal. This was the opportunity, the moment she had silently longed for, a chance to prove herself on a grand stage. She accepted tremulously, her voice slightly shaky, and within days, she was propelled into the dazzling limelight at a major fashion spectacle, one of the most anticipated events of the season. As she strode down the elevated walkway, the runway stretching out before her, adorned in one of Madame Keisha's breathtaking creations, the spectators were visibly mesmerized. Her innate elegance, her natural composure that transcended mere training, and her singular, unique beauty captivated the audience, drawing every eye. The following day, her visage graced the covers of newspapers and dominated social media feeds. She was lauded for her refreshing appearance, her authentic presence, and rapidly became the topic of conversation throughout the city, a breath of fresh air in a sometimes predictable industry. Offers began to inundate her, requests for appearances, photo shoots, and endorsements pouring in, and Zola soon found herself modeling for premier designers and renowned labels. The young woman from the quiet village of Ngala was now a bona fide sensation in the bustling metropolis. As her renown expanded, however, new trials and challenges emerged, inherent to the world of fame and public life. She had to navigate the intricacies of the modeling sphere, the subtle and not-so-subtle rivalry from other models vying for the same coveted spots, the constant burden of maintaining her public persona, and the perpetual scrutiny of the populace, their eyes and opinions ever present. She found herself attending lavish assemblies and glittering parties, mingling effortlessly with luminaries, artists, and affluent figures, a world away from the simple communal gatherings of Ngala. Yet, amidst all the splendor, the showmanship, and the external success, she frequently experienced a sharp pang of isolation, a feeling of detachment. One evening, after a particularly grueling day filled with consecutive photo shoots and demanding schedules, she sat alone in her opulent dwelling, a place of luxury that felt strangely empty, gazing out at the glittering tapestry of city lights below. Despite her manifold achievements, the accolades, and the wealth, she felt a profound emptiness within her. She yearned, with a deep ache, for her village, for the comforting presence of her parents, for the simplicity of existence in Gala, and even, in a strange twist of nostalgia, for the innocent, albeit hurtful, jests of the children who used to tease her, for at least that was a form of recognition, a place within the hierarchy, however low. Her meditations were broken by a soft rap at the door. It was Kwame, who, with his keen eye, had noticed her recent dejection and withdrawal. "Zola, are you well?" he asked, his voice filled with genuine concern, stepping quietly into the room. Zola sighed, the sound heavy with her unspoken sadness. "I am thankful for everything, Kwame, truly I am," she confessed, looking out at the city lights. "But at times, despite all this, I feel I do not truly belong here. I long for my home, for the feeling of rootedness." Kwame nodded understandingly. "It is customary to feel this way when you bridge two worlds. But remember, Zola, you have journeyed so far, faced down your fears, and you have already inspired numerous individuals, perhaps more than you know, simply by being yourself. You carry a unique narrative, a powerful story to impart to the world, and you are living it daily, bravely. Do not permit the solitude of a moment to diminish the incredible journey you are on, or the impact you are making." His words resonated deeply within her, a reminder of her strength and purpose. Zola recognized, in that moment, that she possessed the unique capability to bridge the divide between her two realities, the traditional world of Ngala and the modern world of the city. She resolved to utilize her prominence, not solely for her own modeling career, but to champion young women everywhere who felt distinct, misplaced, or judged for being different, just as she had. She commenced sharing her history openly in interviews and conversations, discussing her upbringing in Gala, the beauty norms of her village, and how her differences, once a source of profound pain and shame, had ultimately become her paramount asset, the very quality that set her apart and led to her success. Several months subsequently, feeling a deep pull towards her origins, Zola elected to revisit Ngala. She had been absent for a considerable duration, and although uncertain of precisely how she would be received after her transformation, she felt an irresistible urge to reconnect with her roots, to stand on the earth that had shaped her. She had sent notification to her parents of her impending arrival but was unsure what to anticipate from the remaining villagers, those who had known her only as the Slender One. As she approached the central square of the village, her heart filled with a mixture of apprehension and anticipation, she was astonished to observe a large assembly gathered there. The villagers who had once derided her for being dissimilar, for not fitting their mold, were now assembled, and as she drew closer, she could hear them acclaiming her name, a wave of welcoming sound washing over her. Children dashed towards her, their faces alight with joy and curiosity, laughing and waving excitedly. The women, even those who had formerly excluded her from their circle, stepped forward, their expressions softened, to embrace her warmly, welcoming her back. Kofi and Anya, her beloved parents, stood at the forefront of the gathering, their faces radiating pride, tears of pure joy and relief glistening in their eyes. Elder Aminata was present also, her wise eyes twinkling, a profound smile of satisfaction gracing her lips. "Observe, child," she murmured softly, her voice audible only to Zola amidst the welcoming sounds. "Did I not tell you the spirits have their purposes for each and every one of us?" Zola clasped her parents tightly, holding them close, a surge of overwhelming affection, belonging, and acceptance washing over her, healing old wounds. The village elders, recognizing the significance of the moment, invited her to address the assembled community, an honor of great respect. And with a steady heart, a new confidence radiating from her, she stood before the assembly, the sun warming her face. "I departed this village feeling as though I did not belong," she commenced, her voice clear and projecting across the square, acknowledging the past pain without bitterness. "But the truth I have learned, a truth I wish to share with you, is that each one of us is singular, unique in our own way, and it is precisely our distinctions that render us truly beautiful, truly remarkable. I have learned that authentic beauty extends far beyond our physical appearance. It is fundamentally about how we perceive ourselves, the value we place upon our own unique being. No one, absolutely no one, should ever face judgment or feel diminished simply for being different from the perceived norm." Her discourse resonated deeply with the villagers, many nodding in accordance, their perspectives shifting as they listened to her powerful words. They perceived her now not merely as Zola, the slender young woman who had departed for the distant city, but as an emblem of bravery, resolve, and unwavering self-regard, a testament to the power of embracing one's true self. Zola's return precipitated a fresh wave of transformation in Gala. Her narrative, widely publicized through her fame, had gained widespread attention, and the village began drawing visitors from distant lands, curious to witness the location that had nurtured an urban model who defied traditional standards. More significantly, Zola's trajectory motivated many within the community, particularly the young, to reconsider their long-held benchmarks of attractiveness, success, and belonging. The village women commenced celebrating their own individual qualities and strengths, seeing beauty in their diversity, and the young girls who had once jested with Zola now looked up to her with admiration and respect, seeing her as a powerful exemplar of self-acceptance and achievement. Even Didi, the girl who had offered her the dangerous potion and mocked her at the coming-of-age festival, approached her, her eyes moist with tears of regret and recognition. "I apologize, Zola," she confessed, her voice trembling. "I was wrong to judge you, wrong to listen to the old ways without questioning. You have demonstrated to all of us what genuine beauty truly entails." Zola smiled kindly and enfolded her in a warm embrace, forgiveness offered freely. "We all acquire understanding in our own time, Didi," she responded gently, acknowledging the journey they had both been on. Prior to departing Gala once more, Zola resolved to make a lasting contribution to her community, a gift rooted in her own experience and newfound success. She utilized a portion of her earnings to establish a communal arts and educational facility within the village, a vibrant space where young women and men could acquire new proficiencies, skills such as modeling techniques, photographic arts, public address and communication, and perhaps even combine traditional crafts with modern approaches. She desired for them to access prospects and possibilities she had only ever envisioned in her wildest dreams. She named the center Elder Aminata's Abode of Insight, a heartfelt tribute to the venerable healer whose quiet wisdom had been the first to help her recognize her inherent value and the unique beauty of her spirit. The establishment rapidly became a nucleus of vibrancy and creativity, a space where young individuals discovered a sense of purpose and strong affiliation, finding their own voices and paths. The young woman who had once wept by the riverbank in Gala, feeling utterly alone and without belonging, was now a radiant beacon of optimism, resilience, and empowerment for a vast multitude, both in her village and beyond. Her extraordinary voyage had illustrated to the world, in the most powerful way possible, that authentic beauty resides not in conformity or adherence to rigid standards, but in the courage to embrace one's true, unique self in all its distinct glory.